Kia ora anō. So this time I'd like to cover a few issues around the Resource Management Act and then the hierarchy or the order sequence that different documents have under the Resource Management Act. So the Resource Management Act was gazetted in 1991. The aim of it, of course, was to centralise all of the issues, the matters to do with councils and how they worked and what they did. Prior to the Resource Management Act, there were a range of different acts that were all sort of looking after different parts of the environment and things, and they weren't all coherent or cohesive, and they didn't really work in together with each other. So back then, I think Geoffrey Palmer, with assistance from others, ended up drafting the Resource Management Act, and it was gazetted in 1991. Prior to that, through up until the early 80s, I guess, there are a heap of councils in New Zealand. And you also had harbour boards, catchment boards, drainage boards, river control, other river control entities, around 800 odd. So when local government was reformed in the 1980s, they consolidated a lot of the councils. I think even out my way there was a Pātangata County Council. So all of these entities with local government ones and harbour boards and that, they got crunched down to around 87, 88 different entities. I think there's 14 regional councils now, and the rest of those are territorial councils or authorities, which include city councils and district councils. So the regional council in Hawke's Bay, of course, it regulates things under the Resource Management Act. How it does that is specified in Section 30 of the Resource Management Act, and there's a series of clauses in there around fresh water. So because these series of little videos are about Plan Change 9 or the tank plan change, most of the concentration will be on water quantity, water quality, and land use, how land use affects those two things, river management, things like that. So the other thing that the Resource Management Act has in it is the first schedule, and this is it prescribes how a plan change should occur, the different things that it has to take into account or give effect to, time frames around public notification and submissions and further submissions, hearings, how they're meant to be run, and then decisions coming out of those hearings, and then processes around appeals to the Environment Court or to the High Court. And so that's all within the first schedule of the Resource Management Act. Under the next level down, I guess, are the national policy statements. So they express the national priorities around different issues. For a long time we only had one national policy statement, which was the New Zealand Coastal Policy Statement. It was reviewed around early 2000s, I think. Anyway, we've got that one, which is, of course, is just things in the coastal environment, the coastal marine area, and some of the things along the coastal margin. Then in 2011, they came out with a national policy statement for freshwater management. That was subsequently reviewed in 2014 and 2017, and it was gradually made more stringent, more prescriptive in terms of how it was supposed to be implemented. So then we come down from the National Policy Statement for Freshwater Management, we come down to the Regional Policy Statement. But just before I do that, the National Policy Statement has objectives and policies in it related to freshwater management. There is Objective D1 in there and a couple of policies around tangata whenua issues and priorities for fresh water. The thing with Objective D1 is that it sort of provides a korowai, or it covers how the things in the Māori sort of objective, they have to be considered in the other objectives as well. So it's sort of integrated a little bit like that. The next layer down is the Regional Policy Statement, and that has regional priorities, of course, and around land use, air, water, discharges, all of those types of things, water quantity. The Regional Policy Statement, it's a little bit weird in that we have the Regional Resource Management Plan, which, well, its name says it's a plan, but it includes the Regional Policy Statement and the Regional Plan. The Regional Policy Statement covers the whole of the region, and that includes out to the 12 nautical mile limit, plus all of the landward margin, whereas the regional plan only covers the landward bits but excludes the estuaries and the narrow coastal strip. In the Regional Policy Statement, there are a few things in there in terms of Māori issues, I guess. It's got most of the treaty principles in there. It's got some Māori values, rangatiratanga, wairuatanga. It expresses what taonga are and how they're understood. It includes even reference to the kete, the three kete of knowledge, and other things, but they're sort of at a higher level. And to be effective, they need to be translated or considered down at the decision-making end in the regional plan, and unfortunately for us, they're not considered at that level. Okay, the regional plan then, of course, contains all the regulation, the limits, the rules, the decision-making criteria around resource consents, and for Plan Change 9, that's where we've got to hit it if we want to be effective. So water quantity, water quality, discharges, the effects of land use on water. So to me, they're the main things. There's a lot of other stuff in the proposed Plan Change 9, but to me they're a bit superfluous. There are things in there about, we will do more research, we will hold catchment meetings with landowners and iwi and all of that. But I mean, we've been through 8 years of that. So I thought they would be a bit more, I thought the plan would be a bit more sort of definite at this stage. I think it's around 135 pages long, this plan change. 5 or 6 of those plans are just including bits of the current Regional Resource Management Plan that they want to delete or to stop from being applicable to the tank catchments. And we've got to watch those ones. And that's where elements within chapters 5.4, 5.5, 5.6 and 5.7 no longer apply within the tank catchments. Okay, so Plan Change 9, open for submissions. Submission period closes on August the 14th. Then council will get all of those submissions together. They'll divide them up into different topics or themes, and then they will send those out to everyone who made a submission, or make it available online, I guess. You then have time to peruse those submissions. They'll include access to scanned copies of everyone's submission. I remember going through the Regional Resource Management Plan back in 2000 something, and the Coastal Environment Plan when they done that, and I think they had like 300 submitters or something. So this is quite important, this plan change. It's excuse me, it's liable to have a number of probably a couple of hundred of submitters to it. So once all those submissions or their general themes and topics have been made available, and you then have another period for what they call further submissions, where anyone at all is allowed to send in a further submission on relating to, or either in opposition to or in support of those initial submissions. Those further submissions then get analysed and sorted out, and they get sort of put alongside the initial submissions. What themes or what topics they brought up, what they objected to. There's also the opportunity to elaborate on some of the issues that other submitters have put in. Whereas someone says, I'll try and give an example. If someone says, what's relevant to us? Okay, if we say, we want more water to be put down into the Paritua Karewarewa. And then, of course, other people who read that might say, if they take water out of the Ngāraroro and put it down into the Paritua, that'll mean there's less water available for allocation from the Ngāraroro, and that might affect me because I will then have less opportunity to get water out of the Ngāraroro. So little things like that. It gets a bit intricate and a bit complicated, but that's at a later stage. So that's the initial process. Then the hearings go into hearings, which will probably take ages. I see hearings not occurring for maybe 18 months, 2 years from now. You need a bit of stamina for this stuff. The Regional Resource Management Plan, that took probably 8-9 years to get operative. So it was publicly notified in June 2000. It became operative in 2006. But prior to 2000, of course, it went around the region and got discussed with different people and various draft versions of it. So after the decisions come out, if you want to and you disagree with part of those decisions, well, then you have the chance to go to the Environment Court. Even before the initial hearings for Plan Change 9, you have the opportunity to combine with other submitters if you want to present a joint case. And that's often a good idea because you need to probably employ or engage expert witnesses on different types of things, on water hydrology, on Māori history, Māori use of different parts of the river systems. So that's another option that you have as well. And I guess that's most of the issues in terms of priority. So Plan Change 9, just to summarise, Plan Change 9 has to give effect to the Regional Policy Statement. Plan Change 9 also has to give effect to the National Policy Statement for Freshwater Management. And the decision-making things around Plan Change 9 have to be done in a certain way. Regional Council has to operate in a certain way according to their roles and functions under Section 30 of the Resource Management Act.